I remember the text like a dagger. Sorry, Emily. Can't make dinner. Big deal fell into my lap. It was precisely 6:07 p.m. on a Friday, the moment I'd been circling on our shared Google Calendar for 2 weeks. Our reservation at Mariette's Bistro, the one with the flickering candle sconces and homemade ricotta gnocchi, was supposed to be my Valentine's surprise. I'd spent lunch hours practicing my opening line. I have something important to tell you. Instead, I stared at his words blinking on my phone screen, and my surprise morphed into disbelief. Sam and I had met 6 months earlier at an industry conference. I'd just finished presenting my market entry strategy for emerging fintech products, when he'd sauntered over with that easy grin and said, "I'd pay good money to see that deck again." He was a senior account executive at a major bank. I was the young strategist launching a lean startup in payments, and somehow he'd made me feel like partners rather than adversaries. Our whirlwind romance had been built on long lunches and late-night calls, gentle texts that arrived during busy mornings, and weekend getaways where business talk dissolved into wine-infused laughter. We'd been careful to carve out time for each other, no matter how intense our workloads, but that Friday felt like history repeating a story I never wanted. I didn't respond to his text. Instead, I tapped into the Mariette's reservation line and canceled, fees be damned. My phone buzzed seconds later. Please don't do that. I locked it and slipped into my coat, determined to reclaim the evening. I hailed a cab, told the driver to go to Sam's office building, and rehearsed 1,000 ways I might salvage our night. But as the taxi turned into the financial district's steel and glass canyons, dread pooled in my stomach. By the time I reached his floor, I understood. The door to his office was closed, the light on. I knocked softly. No answer. I peeked in, a single desk lamp over a laptop, 2 rings of residue in an empty coffee cup, and Sam hunched over, typing with laser focus. His back was to me. My heart squeezed. "Hey," I said, stepping in. He spun in his chair, startled, cheeks flushed in the yellow lamplight. "Emily? What are you?" "I canceled dinner," I said, swallowing. "I came here." He ran a hand through his hair. "I'm so sorry. I really thought I could wrap this deal. It's massive for me." I noticed the contract drafts open on his screen, terms with international clauses, staggered payment schedules, and it wasn't worth an evening together. He stood, closing the laptop. "It is, Emily. I got greedy for time and I screwed up." I bit my lip. "I know work is important, but so are dates we plan together." He reached for my hand. "Can we try again this weekend? I'll make it up." I looked at his coffee-stained desk, his second home, and back at the door I'd once promised never to slam. "I need some time." I turned away, footsteps echoing down the hallway. The weekend passed in a blur of self-pity and stiff heels. I planted myself at my favorite work cafe, the one with the slanted sunlight and scattered succulents, determined to drown my disappointment in spreadsheets. Our early-stage payments platform was heading into a high-stakes negotiation with Global Edge Solutions, a major e-commerce partner. I needed all my mental bandwidth to balance risk-sharing clauses and revenue forecasts. Soon, my frustration at Sam's absence was eclipsed by the urgency of my own professional world. On Monday, I assembled my negotiation team. Raj, our technical lead, Mia, head of legal, and Serena, freshly minted from business school, eager and wide-eyed. We gathered in the glass-walled war room overlooking the city lights. Our goal: secure a 3-year exclusivity deal with Global Edge, guaranteeing our API integration in their checkout flows across Europe and North America. In return, they'd provide us preferred revenue splits and first access to their new marketplace modules. This deal would catapult our startup from a promising pilot to a viable scale-up. I opened the meeting with our agenda: introduction, negotiation parameters, roller coaster of terms, bait nay, best alternative to negotiated agreement, and next steps. I felt the familiar hum of adrenaline, the kind I'd first discovered presenting at that conference, and focused on the cadence of my voice, arresting but collaborative. By noon, we had refined our opening positions, drafted a preliminary term sheet, and outlined breakpoints for compromise. At 4 p.m., the moment arrived. We dialed into the video conference with Global Edge's delegation, the silky-voiced director of partnerships, a gruff regional VP, and their lead counsel sharpened like obsidian. A polished slide deck lay before me, animations timed. I felt nerves in my fingertips, the same brush of anxiety that hit me before my first client pitch. I straightened my posture and clicked join meeting. Their director smiled as she appeared. "Emily, welcome. We've heard good things about your platform. Shall we begin?" I nodded, returning her warmth. Thank you for this opportunity. We're excited to discuss how our technology can enhance your customer journey and drive incremental revenue. I clicked to the first slide, an overview of our service, user stats from the beta, and testimonials from early adopters. They leaned in. Very compelling, said the director. But let's talk numbers. We're looking for a 90-10 revenue share in our favor for the first year. What's your counter? I glanced at my notes. Given our minimal integration costs and the potential uplift in conversion rates, our data shows a 12% lift. We propose a 70-30 split, with an additional bonus tier once we surpass $50 million in gross transaction value. The regional VP chuckled softly. Bold. We typically don't see startups push back so fiercely. I softened my expression. We understand your scale, but we're investing significantly in API uptime, fraud prevention, and dedicated engineering support. This split ensures our resources remain adequate to keep your operations seamless. Between bites of his yogurt, Raj chimed in with uptime figures. Mia flagged legal enforceability. Serena dotted on upcoming roadmap items. The atmosphere crackled, theirs with skepticism, ours with conviction. Not once did I think of Sam or last Friday's broken promise. 2 hours later, during a brief lull, I caught sight of the clock, 6 p.m. exactly the time Sam might have kissed me goodbye for dinner. A pang hit my chest, but I squared my jaw. I belonged here. The director offered a concession. How about 80-20 for year one, reverting to 75-25 thereafter? And we'll consider exclusivity only in the payments vertical. I leaned forward. That's close. If we can lock in 75-25 from day one and 1 year exclusivity with a renewal option, I think we have a deal. She paused, then smiled. Let's finalize that. I exhaled, a rush of triumph flooding through me. I sat back as our legal teams hashed out final language. When the call ended, we burst into applause, virtual fist bumps and relieved laughter filling the screen. Our startup's biggest deal yet was in the bag. An hour later, as we filed out of the war room, my phone buzzed. It was Sam. Sam, hey. Heard you crushed the negotiations. Coffee? Somewhere? Not too late. I stared at the text. After the week I'd had, my excitement for coffee with him faltered. But I texted back. Me. Congratulations on closing. Me. Sure. Let's talk. 7 p.m. 7 came too soon. I'd barely had time to grab dinner. But I showed up at our old haunt, the candlelit bistro, where I'd first dreamed up that gnocchi surprise. Sam was already there in a crisp shirt, fidgeting like he'd never done anything in the world but fidget. Emily, he said. As I sat, I'm sorry, I really messed up last Friday. His remorse felt thin. I'd seen his contrition before. Yet his eyes scanned my face, and I realized he was offering something raw, vulnerable. You told me you'd handle it, but you chose work, he sighed. And that made me realize something. I'd rather make time with you than make any deal at work. He reached across the table. Can you forgive me? My chest constricted. I thought of the adrenaline of the negotiation, the power of leading a deal that no longer made me bend. Here was Sam, asking for ordinary time. Dinner, conversation, presence. I took his hand. I forgive you. But I need to see it. Time, not texts. He nodded, relief shining in his gaze. Then let me take the rest of the night off. We ordered wine and gnocchi, laughter returning between crispy bread and tangy sauce. He listened as I recounted the negotiation, and for once he didn't roll his eyes. He asked questions, strategic, genuine. He seemed proud, not threatened. Outside, the city lights danced on wet pavement. I realized I'd closed a $1 billion potential deal today. But what mattered most was carving out space in a partner's calendar and heart. As we walked home under lamppost halos, Sam slipped his arm around my waist. I rested my head on his shoulder, thinking about negotiations past and future. Tomorrow, part 2 would unfold. The conversation about balancing ambition and love, about rewriting our own calendars, and about what it means to lead not only boardroom negotiations, but also the small agreements that bind two lives together. For now, I savored the moment, the glow of triumph, the warmth of forgiveness, and the promise of a new chapter we would co-author. One meeting, one date, one choice at a time. We left off under the streetlights, your arm around me as we walked home from Marriott's Bistro, tasting the first warm moments of forgiveness. But as any strategist knows, The real work begins after you ink the deal. For Sam and me, that meant negotiating the hardest contract of all, carving out time for each other amid two voracious careers. Monday morning arrived like a freight train. I stepped into our cramped corner office, papers, 3 monitors, sticky notes in every color, already buzzing with follow-up items from Friday's big win. The Global Edge deal would go live in 48 hours, and our integration plan was due to the CTO by COB Tuesday. No room for error. My Slack pinged, "Emily, need your API keys to finalize the sandbox integration. Urgent." I set my coffee down and typed back, "On it." Then I paused, remembered my promise to Sam. I took a deep breath, muted my notifications, and sent one more quick message in place. Our private Slack channel for just the two of us. "I have a call with Global Edge in 10. Can I call you after?" 2 minutes later, my phone buzzed with his reply, "I'm free at 3. Let's do it." At precisely 9:15, I joined the Global Edge call. Their project manager, Elena, quipped, "You folks deserve an award, fastest sandbox key turnaround ever." We laughed and verified authentication. 15 minutes later, I closed the meeting and dashed to my desk to draft the integration plan. I pinged the CTO, "Draft attached. Let me know if you need tweaks." My phone rang. Sam's name flashed. I swiped to answer. "Hey," I said, voice breathy. "Morning," he replied. Can't stop smiling. I smiled, leaning back. "I'm in the flow right now. Do you need something?" He cleared his throat. "Just wanted to hear your voice." "How's the big deal post-mortem?" I exhaled. "We're good." Elena signed off on the plan. "Next steps, deploy our QA branch in their staging cluster." "Sounds intense," he said softly. "Don't burn out on me." I laughed. "I won't. I have an appointment with you at 3. He grinned. "I'll be here, and I promise I won't roll my eyes if you talk code." I ended the call, fingers warm. I reopened the CTO's email and added my final notes. The rest of Monday was a blur of pull requests, Slack threads, and an unexpected meeting invite. L&D, Lunch and Learn, with Emily Lawrence. Our learning and development team had caught wind of my internal webinar on budgeting hacks and negotiation strategies, and now they wanted me to share lessons with the whole department. It was flattering, but my calendar groaned. I accepted the invite, then drafted Sam a quick message. Bumped. Lunch and Learn at 12. Can we shift our call to 4? He replied instantly. 4 works. I'll see you then. When 12 p.m. hit, I stood in front of 30 anxious white collars in the training room, clicker in hand. Today we'll cover negotiation mindset, lessons from high-stakes deals, and yes, I'll get to envelope hacks in 5 minutes. I delivered my 20-minute talk, start with their interests, anchor with data, build collaborative outcomes, then closed with the envelope trick, how tangible commitments can power accountability. The room buzzed with questions and nodding. By 12:45, the HR director patted my shoulder. "That was gold. Thank you." Back at my desk, I felt the familiar thrill of impact and the tug of my commitment to Sam. Tuesday dawned with an all-hands stand-up where the CTO praised our rapid integration. The product manager announced the new Global Edge dashboard going live, and the CEO mentioned he'd heard rumors of my Lunch and Learn and wanted me to keynote the company's quarterly retreat. My cheeks warmed, but under the kudos lay a pile of to-dos. Finalize the retreat deck, review QCF filings, prep for next week's partner summit in Chicago. I scribbled notes, then paused. Sam's place on my calendar loomed at 4 p.m. At 3:45, I closed my laptop, pinned the retreat deck in my bag, and slipped into the meeting nook. His face appeared instantly, soft smile, coffee mug in hand. "Hey," he said. "Did you survive the retreat prep?" I laughed.
Yes.
"And you?" He exhaled. "I've been burning through mapping out the next steps for your planner hack. Want to show you the render of the envelope app? UI I mocked up." I grinned. "Love that, but first tell me about your week." He launched into his day, a messy audit at the bank, an urgent request from his VP, a last-minute client dinner that got rescheduled too. We traded wins and setbacks, found laughter in UX glitches and typo-laden spreadsheets. At 4:30, his phone buzzed. His VP needed to talk numbers again. He winced. "I'm sorry. Can I call you back?" My heart sank. "Sure." I watched him frown at his screen, then vanish behind the call. I leaned back, heavy. This pattern, work first, love second, felt eerily familiar. I'd lived that life once, and I'd promised myself I'd never let that become my story again, with someone I cared for. With 20 minutes to kill before dinner, I opened my draft for the quarterly retreat. The title slide gleamed, Q3 Company Retreat, Leading with Empathy and Data. But the next slide, my embracing work, life harmony, felt hollow. I deleted the bullet points and typed something new. Sacred time blocks. How to protect personal commitments as fiercely as project milestones. Micro-transitions, rituals to shift from work mode to home mode, for example. A brief walk, a set playlist. Collaborative calendaring, aligning team schedules to honor each other's non-negotiable time. I saved the changes and leaned back, mind buzzing. Could I share my own story here? Thursday afternoon, the retreat began at an off-site lodge by the lake. As keynote speaker, I stood before 200 colleagues, executives and interns alike, in a sunlit hall. The first 15 minutes went flawlessly. Vision, product roadmap, market trends. Then I clicked to the slide I'd written in rush of conscience, honoring our sacred time blocks. I shared my own anecdote, missing my Friday date with Sam, to close the Global Edge deal, and how I nearly sacrificed our relationship to win professionally. I detailed my commitment, no meetings after 2 p.m. on Fridays. The audience stirred, leaning forward. I led them through micro-transitions, walking breaks, closing rituals, desk yoga, then collaborative calendaring, with examples of how our team could block their calendars to protect family dinners or personal projects. I closed with our greatest work is not only the deals we close, but the lives we build. If we can honor each other's time, on and off the clock, we'll build a culture worth celebrating. Silence settled, then applause rolled like gentle waves. I spotted Sam in the back row, clapping with genuine pride. I realized I'd just changed the conversation at my own company. That evening, as dusk painted the lake rose and gold, Sam and I sat on a bench outside the lodge, legs swinging over the water. He wore his favorite gray sweater. I had my retreat name badge tucked into my pocket. He turned to me. That was incredible, so personal. I didn't expect you to share your dating drama with the company. I shrugged, tracing a pebble in my palm. I thought someone needed to say it. We're good at deadlines and design sprints, but lousy at setting boundaries. I needed everyone to see how it feels to have someone skip your date. He took my hand. I get it. I see it in our calendar invites. We need to work on that. I smiled. So our sacred time block. He nodded. Fridays, 6 to whenever. You and me. I leaned in and kissed him, the promise wrapped around our fingers, the lake's hush bearing witness.